These are our top 5 running form cues. Hey, I'm Mick from Natural Born Running. I run an online 21-day program that's going to help transform your running technique back to that natural movement you were given when you were born. We're all about trying to turn that natural movement into human performance. Sedentary lifestyle we have today, it's just kind of messed up our bodies, sitting down in the car all day, texting on the phone, at the computer. It's limiting the way we run. And with 80% of runners getting injured every year, we need to change that stat. So click the link below, join us on an online program, and as always, like and subscribe to the channel so we can get this out to more people. So number 1, we look at your foot strike. Probably the most important part of any running form. If you're not running and landing with that foot in its necessary, most important strike, it's going to cause all kinds of complications upstream, all the way up to the head. We either see heel striking, forefoot striking, or that midfoot. Predominantly, most people hit with that heel strike, which isn't ideally the most efficient way. It's just unfortunate that we heel strike, and it comes down to the shoes you tend to wear. With that big heel in the way, you don't even realize you are heel striking, even if you think you're not. There's not a lot of nerves on our heels, so the brain does not know if you're heel striking or not. That is why we always get people to analyze themselves with a video just to see where their foot is landing. And if we are heel striking, we tend to land in front of our center of mass, and that is going to cause a braking force going backwards. Doesn't help when we're trying to run this way. It's like running with the handbrake on. It's just not efficient at all. So we want to get away from as much heel striking as possible. Forefoot striking, a little bit different. Obviously, we're a bit more on the front of the foot. That tends to put a bit too much strain on our smaller calf muscles. It doesn't really engage much through the glutes and the hamstrings. So we don't want to get too far up onto the toes. And when we go up too far onto the toes, like say that calf is just going to get overloaded, and that's where a lot of calf strains come from. So what we ideally want to get is what we call a tripod landing. So that is kind of what we call a midfoot strike, where that big toe, that little toe, and that heel all land and hit the ground at the same time. That is going to dissipate all that load, that 2.5 times your body weight coming down on the ground, dissipating all evenly around the body. You think about when you drop a bowl. If you drop the bowl and that lip touches the ground all at the same time, you hear this big suctioning sound, which tells you it's hit nice and firm and loud, that it's hit the ground right at the same time, and it's dissipated that load evenly. If you land it on its lip, either on the back or the front, so heel strike or forefoot strike, it bounces all over that place. All that load is going into one place, either your heel or your forefoot. So we want to dissipate that load as well as possible. Number 2, the push-off. So once we've got a good foot landing, how do we now push off the ground? We've got that 2.5 times that body weight coming down on the ground. So we want to use that to our advantage. So we want to bound back off the ground and get us going forward. So we want to push off from that foot, nice and strong, making sure we're getting glutes, hamstrings, quads, hip flexors coming in and doing their best work. We don't want to just be lifting up the leg and underutilizing all that impact we're getting from the ground. So what we want to try and push off is evenly between that big toe and the little toe, and it comes together and makes kind of an inner tripod. So we land on the outer tripod, that tripod landing, and then we push off the inner tripod. If we can get those two working together, everything else upstream tends to fall in place. So number 3 is your posture. So like I said, with 1 and 2, if we get that foot landing strong, we get that push off strong, everything else should follow suit. With our posture, it is such a hard thing to change today because we tend to spend most of our days stuck like this in front of the computer, on our phones, driving. So that is what our brain is commonly used to. So they think that we should run like that. Obviously that is not efficient. It's hard to breathe. It's hard to get any kind of power through your body. So we've got to make sure that that posture is nice and proud and nice and efficient. An easy way to think about with your posture is think about your center line. We're going from your forehead all the way down to your belly button. If we think about drawing a bow from this position, like a bow and arrow, so I'm going to draw that bow, nice proud chest. That's going to put my pelvis in a neutral position. It's not going to anterior tilt or posterior tilt, which most people are at. It's going to relax all these core muscles that we don't need to think about. If we're in a good position with posture, we don't need to brace anything. Our subconscious will do that. Our body will naturally just keep us strong there. So we draw that bow, opens up our chest, opens up the pelvis into neutral position, and we run along in this position. So all we need to think about, draw that bow. Posture is one of the first things that tends to go in our running, especially when we get fatigued. So you think about when you're in a longer run, you start to do this, just bring that bow back up to its good position. That's all you need to think about with your posture. Number 4. Now this is a bit of a controversial one because it's really going to get the head working, the brain kind of working out what's going on. It's your arms. So normally we think about just pumping our arms back and forth, but what I want you to think about is pushing the arm backwards. We push this arm backwards, the other one comes forwards, and that vice versa gets you going forwards. So we take away the feeling of having to push our arms forward to get us going forward. We actually get more power by going back because that is loading up our elastic system, our fascial system to get us nice and efficient to get us going through. If that want to go, a little bit tricky to start off with, but just think about arm at a kind of a right angle, fist, open hand, it's up to you, but pushing back, fist to midline, elbow to midline. Push back there and let it come forward. Don't bring it forward. Just think about pushing back and vice versa with the other side. Number 5, head position. So for most people today, we tend to have this poked head position. Computers, phones, driving, all that jazz just puts this head so far in front of the spine that is consistently putting load through that lower back. So all we got to think about, looking at over the horizon, not looking down, which we tend to do. Look at that horizon and that should pull you up nice and tall alongside drawing that bow with the posture, and that head should take you where you want to go. The body will always follow where our head is and where our eyes are looking. So make sure looking out over that horizon, nice and tall. So that's our top 5 cues at the Natural Born Runner. All of them are involved in our online workshop, and you can kind of come through a checklist as you're running along. How's your foot strike? How are you pushing off? How's your posture? Are you using your arms? And where's your head? Going through that checklist consistently as you're running will make you a much more efficient runner, and it's not too much. You can get overloaded and maybe you may not need to work on all 5, but having that checklist over that body each time you run, every single step is just going to get easier and easier and easier. And just like with anything, repetition, repetition, repetition. Let me know how you go down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe as always. Cheers guys.